Middlecoff, you and I both love baseball, so it's great to have a baseball player on the show. I think our first baseball player guest on this show.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. He is Hunter Bishop, getting ready for spring training, and it's awesome to have you, man. We appreciate it. Are you? Do you feel like you're deep in baseball season right now?
No, I actually I feel pretty refreshed. I feel ready to go. Super excited to finally get on the field, though. It's been a while.
So what'd you do, obviously, last year with Corona, short baseball season for the minor league guys, season canceled, but they had the unique kind of taxi squad for guys like yourself. What was last year like?
Yeah, so, we started spring training like a regular year. It was technically my first spring training. I was super excited, like super bright-eyed, because I got to be around guys like Longoria and Crawford, Posey. But it was weird because one day they just called us in the office and were like, hey, we're going home. So, I sat home for 4 or 5 months, ended up getting the coronavirus. And then they called me for the alternate site, or actually they called me for spring training 2.0, and I was going to go to there, San Francisco, but that was right in my time of actually having the virus. So I showed up to Sacramento, which was the alternate site, and it was technically like they counted it as a full season. So I'm 1 year deep in a full season of pro baseball, and I also did instructional league in September, I believe. So it was, for guys like me, I was very fortunate to even step on the field and play some games because, a lot of these kids and guys didn't get to even play one ounce of baseball. So just for me to be able to get on the field, I was super fortunate.
This has to feel like it probably sounds cliche, but it has to feel like a whirlwind, right? First of all, college baseball is so different than like NBA or the NFL. The draft happens. You're at ASU. You're on a really good team. You're having a great year, and you get drafted in the first round. You go 10th overall, and then boom, it's like time to become a pro ball player. So you play whatever 25 games of rookie ball, and then bam, here comes your first full year, and it's just a bizarre year. Does it feel like? Do you feel like you've been a pro ball player for 5 years or 6 months?
To be honest, it feels like I've been doing it for a long time now, especially with all I've been doing is training. So it's just like, God, I'm ready to play. But definitely a different dynamic than college. College, you're the top of the line player, you're a stud, and then you go right back to the minor leagues and you're bottom of the totem pole. So, it's crazy. I'm thankful for my opportunity to even go to spring training. So I'm excited.
When you're the 10th overall pick in a draft, in the other sports, because you go right to the show, right, and you play, if you're the 10th pick in football, you're a starter. In basketball, at worst, you're like the sixth man. In baseball, there's kind of a long road. What's that feeling like, the pressure, but then you realize you just kind of start from zero?
Yeah, it's definitely different. Like I said, you go from being one of the top college baseball players in the country to being nobody even knows your name, So luckily enough for me, I've gotten an amazing opportunity to, like I said, go to spring training this year, and who knows what the year is going to entail, I could go to single A, double A, major, who knows? So I would say the pressure, I don't really feel pressure yet because I haven't done anything. So I think in spring training, it's just a great opportunity for me to show my talent and get around the guys and be a good teammate. But like I said, I'm really looking forward to this opportunity and taking advantage of everything I can.
How fast for that 10th overall pick direct deposit to fire in did that take?
I think it was like mid rookie ball. It hit my account. I remember just like looking at my phone one day, from my account went from like probably $20 to a good amount of money. So it was nice. I remember all the guys asking me to see the account. I'm like, no, I'm not sure.
Well, that brings up an interesting question. John and I were talking about this earlier. Like the old days of, like, we always laugh about the old days of baseball, right? Like the 50s when guys had jobs in the off season. But I think it's become a much more known kind of just situation publicly over the last couple of years, because what minor league baseball players make and the way that they get treated relative to the rest, to the highest level, is a conversation, right? So for a lot of your guys, when you walk in as a first round pick, you might be around guys that are making $700 a week or whatever the number is. And so you do play a sport where a lot of people, it seems like, probably still are in the same boat that the big leaguers were, back when Mickey Mantle I don't know if Mickey ever had to work at like a grocery store, but do you see a lot of that around when you just look around the sport? Do you see a lot of guys that are in other systems, guys that do have to find other ways to make money when baseball season's not happening, or even when it is?
Yeah, I mean, a ton of my close buddies have jobs, and I mean, it's tough because the pinnacle of baseball is the major leagues, and when you make it to the major leagues, even if you're the worst player on the roster, you're still making a ton of money. So I think, I mean, they always are trying to stress minor leaguers getting paid more, but for me, I think that's what you're working toward. That's what you want to become as a Major League Baseball player, So it's kind of the same thing with me. This is a total different topic, but paying college players, I think it's the same exact thing. You work your whole life to become a professional, and I think that's what makes it so valuable. So, I mean, granted, coming from a guy like me, I'm sure a lot of guys are like, screw you, you've made a good amount of money. But, I mean, even if I didn't, I think I would still have the same mindset of you're trying to reach that pinnacle peak of baseball or sport. So I think that's what makes making the show so much more valuable.
Well, how do you balance, you get the large chunk of change when you're drafted high, but you're not even guaranteed to ever make the major leagues, and you were the 10th overall pick. I mean, you just never know. It's so hard. And then even, let's say you're lucky enough to one day get there, we know how hard it is to stay. Do people tell you, hey, man, you got to put half of that away right now? Or, I mean, was there a big purchase, or did you put it all in savings? Like, how do you balance that, just knowing how rough the road is in the sport of baseball, because it's not like any of the other team sports?
Yeah, I mean, I think fortunately enough for me, I got introduced to Scott Boras and his whole entire team, and he's obviously a genius at what he does and the best in the business. So I mean, he has a full team of financial people who definitely steer me in the right direction and help me make all my decisions safely and correctly. Because I mean, when you're a 22-year-old kid and you get a large sum of money, a lot of dudes do blow it. I mean, it's very prevalent in sport today. So I'm lucky enough and fortunate to have Scott on my side and steering me in the right direction with his team.
You're not wearing the Boras logo right now.
I'm not. I should be kind of advertising him, but here's my advertisement to him. He's an amazing dude and the best. So I'm lucky to have him.
What's he like?
Okay, we got to dive into Scott Boras.
We've all seen the photos of like Boras with like 80 people around him holding mics, holding court at the winter meetings.
He's very calm. He's amazing. But I'd say the biggest thing that impressed me about Scott when meeting with him was just how knowledgeable he is and how smart he is to have how he's built his business. Just kind of looking at the statistics in his booklet, I'm sure he'll get mad at me for even talking about this, but the numbers he's done compared to anybody else aren't even close. I mean, just take the money away from it, seeing how he's built his business is pretty impressive.
When was the first time you met him? And when he's coming after you, he's recruiting you, right?
Freshman year at ASU.
He was recruiting you.
Well, actually, I got introduced to him through Spencer Torkelson, who's is still the hot commodity. He's an absolute stud. But Spencer signed with him, I believe not signed, but went with his agency to be his advisor his freshman year of college when he hit like 20,000 home runs. So I got introduced to him through Spencer, and then the rest was history when I met with him. But thank God for my junior year, I definitely probably wouldn't have an agent.
Well, but that's interesting because Spencer was the guy. For people that don't follow maybe the draft as closely, he was the number one pick last year, but he was from he broke Barry, like you. He's a Barry guy. He broke Barry Bonds' freshman home run record at ASU, and Barry was his favorite player. You had a different path, right? You did not look like your first year was not like, oh, well, here comes Hunter Bishop. It's just a matter of time before he's a top 10 pick. So what was that like for you to watch somebody else going through that? He's a year younger than you, though, right? But here you are as a sophomore grinding, and this guy comes in and just bang, instant star.
Well, what's funny is everybody always, and I'm not saying you're doing this at all, but everybody always says like my freshman and sophomore year were terrible, but my freshman year, I was 17 years old, and I hit like 305 with 5 home runs, and I'm sitting there going, wow, I'm a great freshman in the Pac-12. And then Spencer comes in his freshman year and just absolutely dominates the competition. I'm going, wow, I got a lot of work to do. So it was a fun thing to watch, man. He's a once in a generation talent for sure.
And really, ASU, I guess UCLA too is kind of like, Alabama, LSU of football out here, right, for baseball. I mean, you're at an absolute power. So if you're just playing, once you start playing as a freshman, you go, I got a chance to play in the big leagues. I mean, this is the path that the Pedroias, I mean, you just look at the long lineage of players at the school, right?
Absolutely. I mean, our coach, Tracy Smith, the first thing he told me was, if you come here and don't want to play in the major leagues, don't come here. So, I mean, that's what Tracy stresses, and I think it's a big thing for recruiting. I mean, you want to play in the big leagues. Your goal is to play in the big leagues. So, I mean, I certainly wasn't going to play college baseball to just, go party and stuff like that. So, definitely ASU is a place to go to the big leagues.
Hold on.
They set you up.
Well, I bet the motto is "You hit bombs, the babes follow," right? Something like that.
No comment on that one, but yeah.
What is ASU like? Let's talk about that for a second.
Wow, ASU is it's an amazing place. I mean, as John just kind of said, there's some distractions, but it has everything in front of you. It presents everything. There's Scottsdale, there's Tempe, there's amazing football games. There's I mean, it's a great spot. I think there's every professional sports team. There's hockey, NFL, baseball. So it's a lot of fun. It's a great spot, and it's my home now. So I love Arizona.
It's weird, I'd say football is very regimented, very focused, especially during season. You might screw around once, maybe a week after a win. Where baseball probably has more parallels to like golf, where it's like you play, but you also relax a lot and you can screw around because you don't want to take it too seriously, especially as a hitter or even as a pitcher. Was there a balance coming from high school to going to play college baseball that you learned to like, you gotta let loose a little bit and be focused? Like it's not just grinding in the cage 24/7.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a balance, especially when you go from being a young high school kid to a college like ASU. You're kind of hit in the face with how much it presents to you just off the baseball field. You really have to take care of your business and stay focused because, like I said, there's definitely a lot of distractions that can throw you outside of what you want to become or what you want to work towards. But I think I'm actually thankful for that because if I didn't go to college or I didn't go to ASU, I wouldn't know that. So then when I was thrown into professional baseball, all these distractions then present themselves. So, I mean, for me, I'm really happy I went to ASU to get that experience and mature a lot to take care of my business and make sure I'm staying focused to get the overall goal, which is helping the Giants win a World Series one day.
I do want to talk to you about the Giants, John and I. But I want to get the story straight, too, because John spent some time in college as in the recruiting department at Fresno State and then as an NFL scout with the Eagles. And so we got to talk about you, the football player. How close were you really to playing college football? The story is that you were going to Washington to play football. You were gonna be a receiver for Chris Peterson.
High school football was some of the best times of my life, and I made some lifelong friends. My high school football coach, we just had a little Zoom call with Tom Brady, which was awesome. But he really instilled some great values in me, and I think everybody should play football in high school or another sport. I think it's important to keep your mind off baseball. Like John kind of said at all times, you got to balance. So I love football. I miss it too.
So did you play baseball or you played football up through your senior year in high school?
Yeah, through senior year of high school.
And had you committed to Washington? Were there other Pac-12 schools or other schools that were coming after you? Like what were your opportunities for football?
So I was actually a quarterback my first 2 years of high school. And I liked quarterback, but I just knew I was probably like wasting my athleticism a little bit. So me and Patrick Walsh decided to let me switch to wide receiver. And as soon as I committed to Washington, actually a funny story that not a lot of people know is I was at dinner with Tony Granado, who is a longtime coach for the Detroit Red Wings, NHL. We're at dinner in Los Gatos, California, and Jim Harbaugh walks to the door. And we start talking, and he found out that I was committed to Washington. And I believe the next Friday, I was at St. Francis Versera high school basketball game, and I get a text, "Hey, this is Jim Harbaugh. Would love to have you out for a visit." And,
wow.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I don't know if I still have the text, but
did you take the visit?
I actually didn't. I was pretty dead set on playing for Coach Pete. We kind of formed a cool bond because I went to a couple of their camps, especially with my older brother playing baseball at UW. I loved it up there, and I think at the time they were like, I want to say they were number 3 in the country or 4 in the country. So I think I was dead set on that one.
So what changed? Why the switch from football to baseball? I know John loves the idea of a baseball player with a football attitude, but what changed for you?
Well, I mean, I think after just kind of looking at the longevity of my career, I know it's kind of cliche to say, but I just thought that the longevity of my career and what I was better at. I mean, I was a good football player, but I definitely think the talent in baseball was much higher and presented me a lot better opportunity for my career. And then what happened was I got to college, started playing baseball, and I fell in love with the game. So. It was, I mean, at first it was a really hard decision, but, after seeing the way everything turned out, I think I made the right decision.
So who was your comp?
That's
the question, John. Who's your comp?
My football comp? A lot of people would say Adam Thielen.
I mean, he's making like $40 million. He just got a contract extension last year.
Yeah, but hey, I'll let him have his shine. I didn't want to take anything away from that guy. He's pretty good.
Did you ever think about going like Jeff Samardzija in college and doing both, or is that not really an option as much anymore?
Yeah, I mean, I actually met with Todd Graham when I visited ASU, and it was definitely an option for me. Maybe if Herm Edwards was there when I was getting recruited, it would have changed my mind. I'm not saying Todd wasn't a great guy, but I've met Herm a couple of times, and he's one of my favorite. Yeah, he's one of my favorite humans. So I think if he would have been there, it might have been a different story. But I just wanted to focus on baseball and really hone in on my craft. Because coming out of high school, I was very raw prospect. I mean, I had a chance to get drafted, but my skills were definitely not all put together at the time. So I really wanted to hone in and focus on the craft.
Well, so how'd you know, like you said, your ceiling, like you scouted yourself. You knew your ceiling was smaller in football, pro-wise, but in baseball was higher. Like, did someone tell you that? Did you just know watching other good players that you go into camps with? How did you kind of gauge that? That's a lot to handle at 17 years old.
Absolutely. I think a big factor of that was my dad. And, I mean, Patrick Walsh, he was very honest and upfront with me and said it's going to be a hard road to play NFL football. And, I mean, I don't think he was taking anything away from my talent, but he saw me play baseball, and he's seen a lot of NFL players, like we kind of talked about before we got on. Bakhtiari was a guy he knew was going to be a superstar in the NFL, and I don't think he thought I wasn't, but I just think he knew because he played baseball in college at Texas. So I think he knew the talent was there in baseball to be something different. So yeah, I mean, it was a lot of conversations. It was a really hard decision, but in the end, it was baseball.
Here, I'm just going to throw for people just watching the YouTube. Here's just a photo. Patrick Walsh is the football coach at Sarah and it's really successful. And there's you, and there's Brady, and there's Bakhtiari. And this was like, I don't know, like a month ago. Brady was getting ready for the Saints, I think, right?
Yeah, that was the week of the Saints game. Yeah.
Are you and Brady? You guys these are all Sarah guys for people South Bay. Are you and what's the Tom Brady? You know Tom at all?
Yeah, I mean, Tom's someone I really look up to. He's a friend. He's someone I can, ask anything to. He's probably, I mean, we don't talk a ton because the guy's super busy. But, I mean, anytime I shoot him a text, he's amazing and gets back to me and gives me some great advice. So, I mean, Tom's someone I look up to, aspire to be anything close to the same. He's the best athlete to ever do it. So, super thankful for that relationship, man. He's a special guy for sure.
That's cool.
How'd the relationship start? How'd you meet him?
Well, actually, I got drafted in June of 2019, and I'll never forget it. I'm in the locker room, Salem, Oregon, playing for the Volcanoes, the Giants' rookie ball team at the time. And after a game, I went back and it said, "Hey, Hunter, this is Tom Brady. Congratulations. If you ever need anything, I'm here." And then it just kind of started through that, and just tried to stay in touch with him. Like I said, he's a very busy guy. So the fact that he even gets back to me is pretty awesome, and I'm thankful for the relationship I have with him.
Did he hammer it home like this is Tom Brady? This isn't like a random Tom. This is Super Bowl champion Tom Brady.
I mean, it was just kind of one of those coming to the world moments. Like I don't know. I didn't have that many cool people on my phone, but just to get a text from Tom himself, and he literally read the line, "That's Tom Brady." I was like, "Oh wow, is this a joke or what?"
That's pretty awesome. Isn't there a story about you? Now you're talking like that ASU saw you because, like, listening to you talk, you weren't playing like, were you playing on a bunch of travel ball teams baseball doesn't sound like. So is the story that like ASU saw you because you were a late sub in like some random game and somebody popped the ball up to left field and you chased it down or something like that? What's the story?
Well, actually, the story is I was going into my senior year of high school. I had actually played travel ball that summer because the year prior I was like a DH and I wasn't playing that much. But I had kind of started to do pretty good that summer, and I went to an area code tryout, which is like the big high school showcase for kids trying to play college ball. And they said I was a pitcher. They said, "Oh, you can't try out. You're a pitcher." I'm like, "I'm not a pitcher." And I snuck on the field, actually. One of the scouts I had known through my brother. And he's like, "Yeah, just go run a 60-yard dash." And I think I ran like a 6.39 or something like that. And I remember the ASU coach was standing like right there. And I took pretty good batting practice and played it. I didn't play at all in the area codes because I think they still thought I was a pitcher. But I think I had maybe 2 or 3 at-bats. And our ASU head coach, Tracy Smith, was there. And then that's kind of when it all happened. He called my dad and was like, "Your son is a Major League Baseball player. He can play football all he wants. But if he ever wants to come check out the campus, let us know."
Wow.
When Guy and I were in college in like the mid-2000s, I was at Cal Poly. He was at Fresno State. Both had good baseball teams, and these guys just hit these bombs with the bats, and it was like that forever. But in college baseball, they changed within the last decade, right? The bats aren't as crazy. Like you don't see guys hitting like 35 home runs or the 500. It's not wood bats, but it's not what it once was. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean they definitely deaden them. I mean, I remember hitting in Little League with those things, and those balls would just jump off the bat. But I mean, if you got power, I think you can still hit the ball out of the yard. It might not go as far, but Guy's seen it. He's seen me hit a few homers. So
I have.
Yeah, I don't think it does.
So it's a lot better than a wood bat still.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you get it on the barrel on the right spot, it's going out.
Let's look at some. We've got some. For those listening on the podcast, you can listen to this. We got some. That's your studio. We can talk about that too. We just want to look at your swing and understand what are we looking at exactly, because I think there's so much talk now about how hard guys swing, launch angle. John and I talk about, we're golf fans like you are. You're a big golfer. What are we? I got a slow motion video here too, but just tell us, what are we looking at here? Like, what are you trying to do?
Is that a little Jock Peterson load up there trying to just go hit a bomb?
I mean, actually, what's funny is a couple of weeks ago I was talking to Pat Murphy. It's the first time I actually met him, legendary ASU coach. Coaches for the Brewers now, and everybody always compares me to like loading up like Christian Yelich, and he obviously coaches on Yelich's team, and he was like, Yelich was going through a tough time last year, and we were like, "Oh, well, that Bishop kid, I'm sure he's doing fine." So I thought that was a pretty funny story because I've always got to compare to Yelich, but I think Yelich is just a little bit better at the time. He's an MVP. I think Pat was just obviously joking, but yeah, I mean, I think I try to do my own thing, but I get compared to Yelich a good amount, and some other guy, maybe Cody Bellinger a little bit, but those guys are pretty good at what they do. So I just try to be myself and hit the ball out the yard. That's about all I'm trying to do.
What is the key for those of you guys listen on the podcast? We got the video going. What do you even think when you swing? I mean, is it just what's the deal here?
I think a lot of my thinking comes from the top video in the cage. I got some pretty good coaches in my corner with the Giants, and they've helped me a lot. Just take a lot of the thinking out of it, because in college I would think a lot in the box, and if you've talked to any successful hitter, that's not the way you're gonna hit for numbers. So or hit the ball hard, I guess would be the proper way to say that. But I mean, I think a lot of my thinking comes from the cage, and then once I get on the field, it's all talent and it's all athleticism. So I just try to let that take over. But I would say a lot of my thinking comes from the cage right there.
So are you swinging as hard as possible?
No, I think in college I would do that a lot, and people would always tell me, you got to tone it down a little bit, because there was a good amount of swing and miss in college for sure. But I think now it's just more controlling, as you can kind of see, like controlling my back leg and really driving through the baseball and just trying to stay balanced, because I know once I take a swing, if I can stay balanced through the whole thing, it's probably my perfect pace. So no, I would say probably 80-85%.
John, weren't you telling me something about Tiger the other day? Like Tiger was saying when he was, or maybe I saw it on, maybe it was a Tiger doc, that like Tiger's golf swing it wasn't about how it was. His dad always taught him like swing as hard as you can while staying on balance. Were you telling me that, Middlecoff? Or maybe we were just talking about that?
Maybe we talked about that. I probably saw the same video. And then like once he was young, it was all about swinging hard, swinging hard, swinging hard. And then once he got with Butch Harmon and kind of came to the tour, they honed it in so he could swing hard but also under control, which clearly baseball, I mean, once you get to even the minor leagues, right, the pitching, they just take advantage of you when you're swinging out of your shoes, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is these guys are throwing now up into the upper 90s, low 100s. So, I mean, if you're missing at all, you're out. So I think the biggest thing is just putting that barrel on the ball because with a bigger guy, once you put the barrel on the ball is going to be hit hard, So I'm much more focused on squaring the ball up and hitting the ball hard than trying to swing as hard as I possibly can. And I think it's just something that comes with learning.
That is something that's probably pretty new to baseball, I guess, this last decade, right, is all these guys throwing so hard. I mean, for us, I never made it past Little League. I couldn't hit for shit. But it's like whenever you guys talk, and just any guy in pro baseball, if you know 100's coming down the middle, you can handle that. It's when you don't know what pitch is coming and they throw hard, it's easy to feel lost. Is that true?
No, absolutely. I mean, I think the biggest thing 100 miles per hour does is just speed you up and really get you, thinking a lot. Because if you're a tick late or you're a tick off, like I said, you're out. So, and they have so many other good pitches. If you miss that 100 miles per hour down the plate, you're going to get some disgusting curveball or changeup that, I mean, even the best hitters in the world probably aren't going to hit, So it's more don't miss your pitch, and if you do, you're screwed.
Have you had what was it like at the alternate site? Like, are you facing some big leaguers there? What was that experience like last year? That was in Sacramento?
Yeah, Sacramento. So it was a lot of the AAA arms who were really close to breaking into the big leagues, and then also like Jeff Samardzija and Drew Smiley came down rehabbing. But just such a good opportunity for learning and growth. I held my own pretty well and learned a lot. I mean, like I said, I hadn't played past A-ball, so to be thrown into the fire like that, I think that's the best way for growth is to face the best.
Do you know where you're going? Like, are you going to big league camp, assuming that the camp's open on time as they're planned? Is that the game plan?
Yeah, so I get tested on Thursday for the first intake test, and then I believe our first workout's Sunday. But after big league camp, I have absolutely no idea what's even to come for minor leagues. So we'll see. I'm just kind of playing it by ear and trying to stay, calm and control what I can control, and then go from there.
Is it still cool to put on a warm-up, a dry fit with the Giants logo on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty special, man. It's especially being from the Bay and seeing all those World Series from, years 10 to 14. It was pretty cool. And then to get drafted by them was, man, I don't want to be on any other team for sure. It's a perfect fit, and I love the organization.
So what do you have to do? Like, what's the number one thing you're working on to eventually get to the big leagues? Is there something specific, or is it just an overall kind of improvement of your game?
Yeah, I mean, I think this offseason I've really taken a step to just, work on my pitch recognition and, even cut down the strikeouts more, try to walk a lot, and taking some live at-bats this offseason has been big for me. And just trying to come into camp as ready as I can possibly be because, I mean, this is a huge opportunity for a kid like me. If there was no coronavirus, who would have known? I might have not even been in big league camp, So I'm just super excited for the opportunity, and I've been working really hard this offseason to get to this point where I'm at and feel as comfortable as I do. So I'm ready to go.
There are so many players in a system right now. Not everybody has the same priority within an organization, but what kind of do you get a lot of feedback organizationally? Here's what we want. Here's where we want you to get this year. Here's what we think of your walk rate. Here's what we think of your pitch recognition. Do you get a lot of that type of feedback, or is a lot of that stuff that you have to kind of self-diagnose, or maybe you're being told that by your rookie ball manager? Or there's a lot of people involved. So what is just kind of the process of you finding out what it is that they expect of you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Giants do a great job of balancing numbers versus performance and like mind and being mindful of sometimes numbers can overwhelm people. But I mean, the day we're living in and the game we're playing in today, whether anybody admits it or not, everything has to do with the numbers. So they have all of them. It just kind of depends if you want them or not. And I think for me, a big thing is looking at the right numbers. I don't try to think too much about some of these analytics, but at the same time, you got to look at some of them because that's what a lot of these guys are getting their contracts looked at for. So for me, I look at the right ones, but I don't try to overwhelm myself with some of these analytics because there's literally something for everything. So,
what are the ones you look at?
I mean, the biggest things I look at is like barrel percentage, walk to strikeout rate. But I mean, that's really where I'll cut it off. I mean, we have like these things that go on your bats that analyze everything about your swing, and some people love them, some people don't. I'm more of a feel kind of hitter rather than looking at all these numbers that your barrel could present themselves at. But at the same time, it's good for knowing if your swing's off or if you're going through a rough stretch and you put it on, it will tell you a lot of stuff. So. For me, like I said, I'm more of a feel hitter, but it's there if you need it.
All right. What about? I accidentally showed this earlier, but what about the science of? Can we play one of your songs on the? We can't play it right now, but can we put one of your songs in the podcast today?
Yeah, we need a new song.
Oh, it's coming out soon, next month.
Tell us about this. So for people that don't know, I don't. I mean, I only know what I've seen on Instagram, Bish Music, but you make music.
Yes, so I played piano pretty much my whole life. I've definitely gotten a lot better as I've gotten more into production of music, but it's a really good hobby for me to have. It kind of takes my mind off the game, as a lot of guys like play video games and stuff like that. It's pretty much the same thing. I'm actually in my studio right now, so yeah, I spend a lot of my time here and keeps my mind focused and kind of active. But it's a lot of fun.
What kind of music?
Yeah.
I mean, it's more like I'd say like it's in the pop genre or I guess people call it EDM, but I'm not big on like the club EDM. I don't really make that. But if you've ever heard of an artist named Kygo, that's like my idol. So I try to make stuff like that.
Haberman's go-to.
Oh yeah, that's my guy right there.
I will say this about EDM. I don't listen to a lot. I will say this. It's good. Like if I need to get some work done, it's good to just put it on. I'll just listen, right? Because I don't really know. It's not like I don't know the words. I'm not getting distracted by the songs, or not that there's that many words necessarily. I don't really know what I'm listening to, right? So, but can you explain to two people who don't understand EDM, like what exactly it is that we're listening to? Like, we're looking at? You're creating some of the piano beat, and then you're putting in whatever else. The beat drop is really the only thing that I know about.
Yeah.
Is when the beat drops.
I think the biggest misconception is people kind of take it for granted because all of it's coming from the computer, pretty much. All of it's electronic. But I mean, some like guys like Kygo, they're insane musicians who are then able to transfer it into a computer to make it sound professional. Like one thing is getting it in the computer, and then another thing is making it sound good, because there's a lot of dudes out there who are terrible, So it took me a long time to learn, and I'm still, not even close. But it's all a learning process. It's pretty much the same thing as anything else. You got to put the time in and then see your results. But definitely it's a growth process like anything else. But it's much harder than people expect it to be.
I had a controversial take on The Weeknd being whether how good he was or wasn't. He's probably more like you grew up listening to The Weeknd, right? Is The Weeknd pretty big hit in the circles of your friends? What do you think? Is The Weeknd, is he computer made or is he elite talent?
Well, I haven't heard him live or anything like that, but from what I've seen and the numbers he does, I think he's pretty talented. But I don't really know how good he is live, but from what I've heard, he's an unbelievable talent.
John said he was. Did you say he was better or worse than Bruno Mars?
Well, I said that he's like a cooler version of Bruno Mars, and then I kind of took it back. Maybe Bruno might be a little more talented. They're different, they're different. I do feel Weeknd's a little bit like computer auto-tuned, but he, I watched some stuff on YouTube of him acoustic. Like clearly he can fucking sing, But like you watch his stuff, it is very computer generated. And it's hard to tell sometimes. Like if I'm watching a dude just
But Hunter's saying
beats,
computer generated doesn't mean you're not talented.
well, no, but if you're just making the beats, if you're like a DJ or whatever, like that is your skill. Like it's impressive. But if you're singing behind it and auto tune and stuff, you can sound better than you actually are. You're like a baseball hitter on steroids. I mean, you're stronger, right? I mean, that's what the computer is for a singer.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's definitely a thing in this generation. I don't really, like I said, I don't really know much about what The Weeknd does and what he doesn't do. But I mean, shoot, anybody doing those numbers,
Streaming numbers are stupid.
Even if he is auto-tuned, I guess he's doing great, right?
How about Dre, how about Dr. Dre's beats? Where do you fall on Dre beats?
I love Dr. Dre. I love old school hip hop and rap. That's probably my favorite genre of music. So I love that kind of stuff.
What's your walkout song?
Yeah, this is.
It's actually I was thinking about that this year. I don't know. I might do "Make It Rain" by I think Birdman. I don't know. I don't even know who it's by.
Yeah. That's solid. I like that.
See, trying to make it rain. Make some homers rain.
You had to make sure.
I mean, Crawford went with Andre Nicotina forever.
Yeah, no doubt.
You can't. Now the Bringer Rain doesn't use that song. You should.
No, but I love the Bringer Rain. That guy's one of my favorite players.
Have you met him?
He's my favorite player by far.
I met him once when he played for Oakland. No, he played for Toronto when I think he had just won the MVP. That when I was like in high school, that was my like baseball idol. I loved his swing, and he was just on the come up, so I loved it.
He's a big football. John, you remember you and I talked to him about Auburn football. Is Auburn or Georgia?
Yeah,
Auburn.
I think he went to Auburn. Yeah. Auburn. Yeah.
He's a huge football fan.
He turned his career around a little bit with like that foot load up. He kind of does the step and just hits fucking bombs. I mean,
yeah, he's just and his attitude and everything. I just love it.
Yeah. So has anyone ever walked out to their own song, you think, in Major League Baseball?
I don't know. Maybe one of these like dudes trying to be a rapper or something like that. I don't really know, but maybe if one of these songs pops off, I'll do it.
You have a song out? Do you have a song out right now? Like, can people go listen to something?
Yeah,
on YouTube,
on Spotify, YouTube, everything.
Bish Music, BISH, Bish Music, right?
Yes, sir, Bish Music.
are you single?
I'm single. Yes.
When you introduce yourself and you're out and about, because there is, you drop like I play for the Giants, because that does insinuate like you're a big leaguer, or you just say pro ball. Like, how does that conversation work?
Well, I mean, I think when I first got drafted, maybe that was like my pickup line. But, now I don't really like people knowing what I do for a living, because then they might get like a misconception of me as a human being. So I think now I just try to play it off like I'm just some random dude on the street. But
musician.
Yeah, honestly, DJ.
Yeah. Because you have to somehow avoid getting like immediately Googled, right?
Absolutely. Sometimes don't even tell them the name. Just pretend you got a different name.
What name do you give?
No, I just say I'm Bish. Bish Music. Look me up.
I'm an entrepreneur.
And then if they want to do their research, they can go. If they really want to do their research, they can go look. But I just try to keep it at I'm Hunter. That's it.
Yeah, you're creative.
Well, playing. I mean, choosing college football, or going college baseball over college football, clearly has worked out. I would also imagine. I know your brother went to Washington. Probably some babes up there, but Arizona State, probably in a completely different level of just the party / lady scene. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for any other college because I didn't go there, but Arizona definitely has some very beautiful women.
Any follow-ups?
Scottsdale's no joke. Yeah, I mean, it's just a great place, but it's just a vibrant, just good-looking people. I mean,
yes, I mean, Arizona guy or girl has some very beautiful people. I'm gonna leave it at that, so I don't get myself into any kind of trouble. But we have very, very beautiful people. Yes.
No follow-ups, John? You good there? Tan.
That's all I got. Yeah, I don't want to get into it.
Go ahead, a tan booth after we do this. After this interview's done. As pale as ever. Well, hey man, it's awesome to talk to you. It's great to see you. Into the quarantine in a couple days, and then spring training, whatever that means. And so, are you okay? Can we play a song in the podcast? I mean,
Oh, absolutely. Anything you want.
We don't subscribe to like the music fee thing, so
No, all good.
we'll play it
all
once
good.
and then tell people to go get their Spotify.
Perfect. That sounds great.
Well, good luck, brother. It's great to talk to you.
Yeah, guys,
Thanks, bro.
for having me
Appreciate
on. Yes, sir. See you guys.